I found out my ex-wife was secretly dating my dad and hiding it from me for 5 years, and I know that sounds like something a bored screenwriter would pitch after a third espresso, but I'm the woman who opened that script and realized it had my handwriting all over it. I'm Talia, 34, a cybersecurity analyst who spends 8 hours a day spotting patterns people don't want me to see. I can trace a breach to a mistyped password in a spreadsheet from 2017 and tell you which in turn reused password 1 on a production server with a straight face. I did not, it turns out, spot the breach in my own family until the alarms were already singing in my bones. Let me take you to the morning the floor shifted under the familiar furniture of my life. It was a Saturday at the farmer's market, the kind of idealized morning the internet tries to sell us. Sunshine that felt expensive, strawberries so red they looked photoshopped, the air smelling like basil and truck exhaust. My sister, Myra, was holding up 2 bunches of tulips and trying to decide which shade matched regret less. I was leaning on a crate of peaches, halfway listening, halfway composing an email in my head to a client who believed MFA was a genre of poetry. My phone buzzed. "Is this you?" the text read from an unknown number with a Dallas area code. There was a photo, my father in his navy blazer he treats like armor, at an Italian restaurant I recognized by the hideous mural of a Venetian canal. Across from him, Camila, my ex-wife. Her laugh visible even in stillness, her hair in the same messy knot I used to untie with my mouth. The timestamp in the top corner of the receipt peeking into frame said 11:02 p.m. 2 nights earlier. Under it, "Congrats to the happy couple," the waiter's note scrolled in Sharpie on the check presenter, the kind of flourish that's adorable when it belongs to strangers. For a second I thought of the petty logistics who had the goal to scribble that whether the pen's ink would bleed through, and then my stomach fell through a trapdoor. I showed Myra. She squinted. "No," she said, voice flat like she was arguing with physics. "No, that's a fundraiser, a work dinner." "Yeah," I said, feeling my face do the numb thing I teach junior analysts to spot as adrenaline. A fundraiser with a waiter who writes congratulations. We paid for the tulips with cash because credit cards felt like trust. I walked to my car and sat with the door open and called my father. He answered on the second ring, chipper like the man who brings a fruit salad to a crisis and calls it participation. "Kiddo, how's the market? Who is the unknown number with the gift for photography?" I said. Silence. "Not the good kind, the kind that arranges chairs." "What?" he asked, careful. "You and Camila," I said. "The Venetian I saw on Thursday night." A waiter with a Sharpie and a sense of humor. "I'm asking if you want to tell me now or later why the woman who was my wife for 5 years and the man who taught me how to ride a bike now share more than a LinkedIn network." He inhaled. It sounded like a tire losing air. "Talia," he said, using my full name like a shield. "This is not how I wanted you to find out." "Did you want me to find out?" I asked, because you have to ask the question that tastes like pennies. Another silence. And then, "Come over." Myra put the tulips in my hand like a baton. "I'm coming," she said. I shook my head because some scenes ask you to sit in them alone or the truth gets shy. "I'll text you a word if I need extraction," I said. She picked the safe word eggplant because it would make me smile even if I was walking into a fire. My father lives in the house he refused to sell after divorcing my mother, the house with the creaky staircase and the sunroom that forgives winter. I parked. The hydrangeas were blooming like they forgot grief. He opened the door before I knocked. The kitchen smelled like coffee and treason. He poured a mug even though I wasn't sure I could swallow. "I met with Camila after the settlement to make sure she was okay," he said, staring at the counter as if countertops had always told him what to do. "It was God, Talia. She was alone. You were angry. She needed help." "She needed a therapist," I said. "You needed boundaries." "We didn't plan," he started, which is what addicts and people who sabotage family trees say when what they mean is we wanted it and didn't ask if we should. "How long?" I asked. He did the math in his face and I knew the answer before he gave it air. 5 years, he said quietly. "We started after you signed." It wasn't during. It landed with the force of a technicality. After I signed. After our joint account became two. After the last night I slept in the bed we bought together and joked that my side was the one with most of the fight in it. After is still a room inside before. Why? I asked, and there really isn't an answer that makes anyone nobler. He tried anyway. She understood parts of me, he said. I felt seen. Useful. We didn't want to hurt you. You chose convenience, I said. And secrecy as a payment plan. There are moments when anger is an instrument and moments when it's a bomb. This felt like the kind you put in the sink and let the cold water run. I watched his shoulders bend under the weight of the thing he had carried for so long. My father is not a monster. He is a man who loves to be needed, who is careful with other people's grocery lists and callous with the women who write them. He once drove across town to jump a stranger's car and forgot my birthday. I have made peace with most of his contradictions. I did not invite this one. I'm telling you now, he said, hands open like a prayer, because I asked her to marry me. The sound in my ears like a microwave from the 80s. I pictured a ring, a thing that binds promise to finger, sliding onto Camila's hand, and the muscle memory of my own vows exploded in my throat like a swallowed shout. You asked my ex-wife to be your wife, I said, because sometimes the only way to keep air in the room is to hang it with labels. He nodded, heartbreakingly small. You're an adult, he said. You can be angry. I'll take it. The last time I saw Camila was 3 months after our divorce at a mutual friend's gallery show. She wore a dress the same shape as a sigh. We did the polite dance of people who held whole years between them and don't trust either pair of hands. She had texted me 2 weeks later, I hope you're good. I'd typed and deleted 20 replies before writing back, I hope you are, and then turned my read receipts off like they were a moral choice. We had not been friends. We had not been enemies. We had been, in that specific, awful way, unfinished. I could have walked out. I could have screamed. Instead, I told my father to give me a week, and I told him to tell her she would hear from me, and I left. Trauma makes you pick up the strangest souvenirs. I took an orange from his fruit bowl and didn't notice until it rolled onto the passenger seat of my car. I drove to the one person whose house always contains a chair made of listening. Myra had lit a candle and made tea and built a nest on her couch like she'd majored in triage. Saturday. I told her. She broke and then collected herself like both were rituals. I want to burn everything, she said. And then I want to find us a therapist who doesn't flinch. We made a plan. Plans are kindness. They give anger somewhere to be while it finishes shouting. Step 1, verify the timeline. Step 2, ask Camila for her version. Step 3, decide which parts of the family get to keep my phone number. Step 4, find new language for the word father. It helped that I am trained to follow digital ghosts. I pulled old phone records, the kind you can still get if you know which corner to pry. I relogged into a shared airline account we never closed because we thought miles should outlive marriage, romantic and stupid. I followed expense patterns like a pilgrim. Nothing proved before. Everything proved after. The dinners, the flights, the weekends in cities where nobody knew their faces. The microdoses of wine purchases like confetti. The gifts, 2 orders from her favorite boutique arriving at his office on my birthday. The pings of a hotel in Santa Fe on a weekend I had been there alone, walking through adobe courtyards trying to learn how to put a life in a smaller container. I made a spreadsheet and highlighted what hurt in a different color because I am me and this is how I keep my heart from cracking into generalizations. Then I texted Camila. Coffee. I wrote. I want the truth from your mouth. She replied in 2 minutes. Yes, she wrote. God. Yes. I owe you that. We met in a cafe that used to be a laundromat, all tile and regret. She looked older in the way that makes you think time has been working on her quietly, sanding her edges to something more honest. She didn't reach for me. She didn't apologize with her body. She sat and said, I am sorry, like she had rehearsed it for years and finally got to present it. Why him, I asked, because there's a flavor of betrayal that's half Oedipal, half soap opera, and somehow all personal. He listened, she said. He didn't make me choose between being complicated and being loved. After we left the courthouse, he called to make sure I ate dinner. He showed up to hang my curtains. He told me stories about you when you were little that made me love you and hate you at the same time. It felt like holding you from another angle. It was wrong. I knew it was wrong. We told ourselves it wasn't because we drew a line at during. It was still a theft. Did you ever think of telling me? I asked. Every day, she said. Usually at night. We would get close and I would see your face like a warning. I'd say we should tell you. He'd say we'd lose you. I thought I was protecting your right to hate me less. I laughed, sharp and joyless. How generous, I said. What do you need from me, she asked, and the tiny mercy was that she didn't pretend this could be repaired into normal, only into something we could carry without dropping it on our feet. I need dates, and I need you to tell me you understand I won't come to your wedding, I said. And I need you to stop telling our story to people who didn't earn it. If you want to write an essay about forbidden love, leave my name out of it. She nodded. She told me the dates. She told me the day my father kissed her in her doorway like a confession. She told me what they believe they saved me from, watching them fail. She told me what they broke, belonging. I know you don't forgive me, she said. I'm not asking for that. I'm asking for permission to live in this city knowing I made a graveyard where you walk. You don't need my permission, I said. You need to live with the echoes. After, I walked to the park where I ended our marriage. There's a bench with our names carved under the slat, a teenage act of devotion we committed in our 30s. I sat today. A kid rolled past on heelys like a physics joke and the sky was grossly pretty, and I thought about the shape of love and how sometimes it's a bowl and sometimes it's a blade. My phone buzzed with Myra's text, eggplant? I sent a photo of the bench. She sent a heart and a sword and then wrote, we can hold both. The week stretched like taffy. My father texted, dinner? I said not yet. Camila sent a 3-line apology by email that managed to be concise and unperformative. I wrote back a 3-word reply received. Not absolved. I told my mother because secrets rot when we keep them in one room too long. She listened, face doing the complicated math of history. My parents have been divorced for 12 years. She still knows the machinery of his charm better than anyone. Of course, she said, and I couldn't tell if it was a curse or a diagnosis. Then she cried, not for herself, which startled me, but for me, and I let her because daughters who let their mothers cry without fixing it can survive anything. The thing about a long con is that you have to rearrange your understanding of the small days, not just the headline. Christmases, graduations, the time my father didn't answer when I called from the ER after a midnight falafel attacked my immune system and I needed a ride home because my hands were shaking from Benadryl. Did he not answer because he was asleep or because he was feeding Camila soup? Did I need to know? The human brain is a pattern factory and it will die making quilts out of scraps you should have thrown away. I forced myself to stop after 10 minutes at a time, to put down the needle and describe the room out loud so I wouldn't disappear into a conspiracy that starred me. At work, I moved packets through my hands like beads. My boss, who believes in transparent leave, told me to take a day. I took half because rage thrills to an inward audience and I wasn't going to give it the matinee. At lunch, I went to the climbing gym and heaved myself up plastic mountains until my palms burned. I wanted a pain that was honest and left chalk. On Friday, I met my father. I chose a diner. Diners are democratic. They remind people that secrets have a smaller radius where the pancakes are very good. He ordered coffee and didn't drink it. Tell me what you need, he said, the only time he's ever used that sentence without adding instructions. I need you to find a therapist who specializes in betrayal and aging, I said. I need you to stop calling this fate. I need you to stop asking me to keep this secret because what would the cousins say? I need you to tell your friends the truth when they ask why I'm not at the engagement party. And I need you to stop saying you didn't mean to hurt me. You meant to serve yourselves. The hurt was a cost you accepted. He looked like a man unlearning a lie he'd told himself on a loop for so long it had become interior design. "Okay," he said. "I can do that." He swallowed. "Do I lose you?" "You lose the version of me that sat on your lap while you read the sports section and believed you could fix anything with a wrench," I said. "You keep the version who will text you a photo of a weird cloud and tell you to drink water and not pick up the phone at 2 a.m. if I'm in a spiral because that's not your job anymore. You keep a daughter who doesn't come home for holidays when the guest list hurts her nervous system. You keep the chance to make new rituals if you can stop narrating the old ones like they're law." He nodded and cried the way men cry when they realize they built their house on a sinkhole and the architect is them. We split the pancakes like a divorce settlement in reverse. He asked if he could hug me. I said not this time, and watched him change shape around that boundary like a river does a rock. Camila and he had a small ceremony out of state 2 months later. A cousin sent me a photo because cousins are the internet. She wore ivory because she has always loved the little rebellions, the ones that scandalize nobody but let her feel like a meme. He wore navy because he doesn't understand color exists. They looked happy. The kind of happy you cannot snatch from anyone without injuring your own mouth. I put my phone in a drawer, made a sandwich, and ate it on my steps with my neighbor's cat, who knows more about non-judgment than most clergy. When people ask me now, mouths a little ajar in the way that says, "I want the pain glitter," I say, "My ex-wife married my father and we are a modern family in the sense that we are a mess." And then I say what I teach trainees when they are deep in a breach and think the worst part is that they didn't see it coming. The worst part is how quickly you make it about your competence. It's not. People lie. People are lonely. People make choices at midnight that they try to bless with language at noon. Watch the logs. Change the passwords. Update the policy for next time. Here's what next time looked like for me. I stopped performing okayness in front of people who treat empathy like a coupon, only good on Tuesdays. I told my story once to the people who matter and refused to recite it as penance. I stayed friends with the friends who didn't turn my life into content. I started seeing a therapist who leaves long silences like trail markers and asks quietly, "What if love isn't inventory?" I dated a woman named Kenzie who fixes bikes and reads novels in the bathtub and whose family is chaotic in the acceptable ways. Somebody always burns the garlic, everybody texts at 6 a.m., nobody steals anyone's spouse. When I told her the headline of my life, she laughed in shock and then held my face in both hands and said, "Look at you. Still choosing." We went slow. Slowness felt like an act of genius. Myra and I made holidays on our own terms. We bought a second-hand menorah and a crooked tree and called it Hannah Christmas because we love each other more than semantics. Our mother came with a Jell-O salad nobody asked for and told us she never did like the navy blazer, as if fashion failures could carry heavier sins. We played a game where you say a thing you're grateful for and she said, "Boundaries," and we all clinked glasses. Sometimes the grief sneaks up in the produce aisle. I'll see a familiar brand of pasta and want to call my father and tell him the store is out and hear him say, "I have a box in the pantry, take it," and feel like he is still the man who taught me how to salt water correctly. Sometimes I miss Camila in stupid ways, her ability to fold a fitted sheet, the way she knew my face had 2 levels of tired and only one responded to caffeine. Missing is not forgiveness, it's inventory. I put it on the shelf and label it and do not reorganize the entire kitchen around it. If you're reading this and trying to calculate whether you'd survive this plot twist in your own family, you will. Not because you're a saint. Because you are a person and people can live in rooms they never asked to design. Here's what I wish someone had handed me with that first photo, a list that isn't a therapy checklist, just a set of handrails. 1. Do not rush to give the betrayal a smarter name. It's betrayal. 2. Gather facts, not stories for the first week. Your brain will want to be a novelist. Be a librarian. 3. Create a new ritual immediately, pancakes, climbing, Tuesday night bad television, so the ground remembers it can hold joy without permission. 4. Let at least one person see you when you are not performing nobility. 5. Know the difference between forgiveness and forward motion. Both are travel, neither requires a parade. The last time I saw my father and Camila in the wild, it was a hardware store. Of course. Betrayal loves fluorescent lighting and errands. He was debating drill bits with an intensity he should reserve for therapy. She was thumbing garden gloves, probably narrating the softness in her head. They saw me like you see a tornado across a field, slowly and then all at once. I nodded. She nodded back. My father looked at me with his face open like a house you can see into from the street. How's work? He asked, the way men ask when they don't know what else won't hurt. Good, I said. Boring. Perfect. I picked up a pack of command hooks I didn't need and bought them like a prop and walked out with my pulse only mildly dramatic. In the parking lot, I sat in my car and texted Myra Eggplant, and she sent back a video of her cat knocking a glass off the table with the caption "Chaos is hereditary," and I laughed in that wet way that means you also still an animal. I still do cybersecurity. I still tell 22-year-olds that the simplest fix is often the most profound one: change the default credentials. I changed mine. I stopped being the daughter who says it's okay to make rooms tidy. I became the woman who says no and then turns the music up because the neighbors always survived my joy and they will again. I live with Kenzie. We have a plant we regret and an inside joke that could feed us for a week. On Sundays, I bake a cake and take half to my mother because grief has a sweet tooth. Sometimes I call my father and tell him about the weird cloud and he sends back a photo of his coffee and we do not discuss holidays. One day we might. It will be in a diner with pancakes and I will not drink the coffee because some parts of me remember what ritual tastes like and some parts of me are still learning a new menu. If you only remember one thing, make it this: you can be the person who didn't see it coming and the person who sees everything now. You can be the daughter and the ex and the engineer of your own life without collapsing into archetypes. You can sit across from someone who chose a story that erased you and choose yourself without inventing a villain soundtrack. People will call it strength. I call it maintenance. You wake up. You look at the breach. You patch what you can. You watch for new traffic. And then, because you are allowed to be interesting to yourself, you log off, make pancakes, and eat them with your fingers.